Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Paul Freese impersonator Tiki here.
And DSquared. Wait, okay, yeah. New mic. I'm trying not to scream.
Are you DSquared, sir? Are you the actual DSquared? Or is it just your imagination? But the question is, how do you find a way out? Ha 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 ha! Haunted Mansion references. Ah, there you are.
Yeah.
All right, DSquared. It has been a wild, emotional, creative, and controversial season of So You Want to Be an Imagineer. It is the relaunch of the game, and it is coming to an end. We are at the very last stretch of it. The killer twist is done. It is no more. Basically, the killer twist was kind of used a lot to take away the powers of the diamond power of MVP and nullify that. That's what a lot of it was kind of used for, which indirectly took out players like Space and Figment. Puff was just the last victim of the killer twist. DSquared, that means that there are currently 2 killers on a team with 3 people in it. It is yourself, Mickey Fan, and Michael. One of yourself, you might be a killer. We don't know. I don't know. I might not even know. Who knows?
That's the twist, isn't it?
DSquared, out of everyone who has voted for the killer, you have gotten like a ridiculously high percentage of the votes.
Yeah, that's not a surprise to me.
I mean, honestly, just after your shenanigans in the Soul Imagineer, I think people just kind of like expected it.
Yeah.
So DSquared, the moment of truth has come.
Oh boy.
Are you a killer?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
No, sorry guys, you were guessing wrong the whole time. It was never my intention to have DSquared be a killer. I mean, DSquared, I love you, buddy. You certainly made Soul Imagineer entirely memorable.
Oh yeah.
You were a great character there, but after what you pulled there was no fucking way I was going to give you killer powers.
I would have gone out like the first round.
Oh, I know it. And so that brings into question DSquared. Who are the killers? So let's try and do some math on this. Let's see if you and I can put our heads together. So
all right. So
there's 3 people. There were 4 people on the team. Puff got killed off. You are not a killer, which leaves the 2 remaining killers. And So You Want to Be an Imagineer, season 13. Get a clue as
Mickey Fan and Michael.
Yes.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Yes. No, that is correct.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably all thinking, wait a minute, Mickey Fan and Michael told us at the beginning of the merge that they weren't the killers. Yeah, they did. They deceived you all. They flat out lied. So here's how this went down. It was basically Michael and Mickey Fan kind of putting their heads together and being like, okay, essentially there's this pecking order that was going on in the pre-merge of who was, and you guys actually were organizing it pretty well, where you had different teams like, all right, let's figure out like who was on which team, who was swapped to which team. You know, like you were kind of figuring out the system of like, if you were swapped, you probably weren't a killer, stuff like that, you know, and you were connecting the dots. DSquared, let me ask you this. Before RM and Mickey Fan came out with the killer has been swapped thing, how close were you guys to actually piecing that together?
I personally was getting on to Michael because there were only so many people left in the game at that point. So next round I didn't want to say anything though because I didn't want anyone to tell him. But who was the other killer? I believe it was Mickey Fan didn't get killed off, yeah. Yeah. I had no idea about Mickey Fan because
Mickey Fan, I will say Mickey Fan did a fucking genius job of hiding himself as the killer.
Yeah.
Because he was just kind of like the pleasant guy the whole way through, you know, and that's exactly why I chose Mickey Fan. And honestly, Mickey Fan lived up to my wildest dreams of him as a killer because he was so subtle about it. He was so stealth-like about it. RM and him made a great pair because of the strategy. They would bounce off each other.
Yeah, and then the Mickey Fan got kind of lucky because of the way he was swapped. He would be on teams that won a lot, or he kept on being able to hide his tracks a little bit because because of what teams he ended up landing on and how many people and stuff, all that.
Okay, so basically, they knew that eventually the numbers were going to crunch down and they'd be the target. So they wanted to do something to just entirely throw a curveball into the game. So they basically approached me like, what if we basically misquote you and say that there's this twist where there's where we swap killers. And I'm like, if you can make that work, like if you want to actually put in like the original Tiki, like put the work into actually like texting it, put the work into like I'm not going to give them the quote. You know what I mean? Like they're going to have to write up everything and they're going to have to convince other people that it's actually me saying it. So I think they did it. And DSquared, I just kind of want to give my big defense as a host about this from a legitimacy point of view. Space was the big one who was questioning, like, wait a minute, I want official confirmation about Tiki about this. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember my response, DSquared?
Yeah. I'm guessing it was vague, yes.
Vague it was. My response was essentially, I can neither confirm nor deny the validity. God damn. The validity of these claims. The only thing I can confirm is that this has been put into place to throw players off track.
Yeah.
I deliberately said all this is going down to throw players off track. That didn't mean that I was the one behind it. The killers were the ones that actually came up with the concept, executed it. I basically just gave the okay and was like, I'm not going to post this onto the main board. I'm not going to confirm or deny it. If anyone asks me about it, I'm going to remain totally mutual about it. And people can kind of take with that what they will.
Yeah.
I was personally kind of hoping that with me not saying anything about it on the boards, people will get suspicious. Not that I want the killer twist to go down, but I'm just saying, like, to add a bit of a challenge. Like, I was personally hoping that there'd be more doubt than there was, because I was hoping, like, okay, like, Tiki never actually said anything about this on the main board. He never mentioned it on the podcast. It has not come up on any of the threads.
And the post never said that you actually switched the killers. It just said that you picked new ones. It never said that it couldn't be people who already were killers. So, like, if you had picked out of the hat. So, for all we know, you could pick out of the hat and pick the same people, for all we know.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is how they did it, DSquared. They essentially just hacked the game, you know, and like I said, it was just a simple matter of adding my name into a quote that they themselves wrote and then having people believe it. And the one end of the bargain that I had in it as a host, like I said, was I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast. I'm not going to mention it on any of the main boards. And if asked about it in the thread, in the discussion, I'm just going to simply be like, can't confirm or deny. With that, I was hoping to put as much distance between it and myself as a host as possible to maybe create some doubt that this claim was actually real. Now, DSquared, I want to know, like, you were obviously probably the one leading the charge to get out the killers the most.
Yeah.
After this went down, did you ever consider the possibility that they were really the killers after that?
Not really, because once the numbers started dwindling down, I think we all started to assume that maybe a killer had been eliminated at some point.
Okay, well, let me make that clear. If a killer was eliminated, I would have told you about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's say if Mickey Fan was just, like, got voted out, I would say, like, okay, Mickey Fan's gone, and he was a killer, so congratulations. You just eliminated one of the killers from the game. I wouldn't have been like that.
And I think also, like, with the Space and Figment, a majority of the competitors, of the players, had a common enemy, like, so no one was really worrying about kills besides the PO MVPs, really.
That's true. That's very true.
There wasn't as much as, like, a demand to get the killers towards the end, last couple of rounds, as there would have been, probably, if all the kills weren't used. Yeah.
Okay, so DSquared, that's it. What is your reaction to this? Did you kind of see it coming when you were coming on air? Are you surprised? Did you kind of put the pieces together before I told you?
I had no idea. I thought that maybe we had eliminated a killer, and you were trying to be a little vague about what
Okay.
who was in it, or maybe there. I thought maybe there was another twist coming because when you gave me the project list, I thought, ooh, maybe there's gonna be a twist with this where it comes back to be like a bad Walt's Vault I opened, but I just don't know it yet.
No, I think
Yeah.
that Walt's Vault
That was
you
a good
opened,
one. Yeah.
depending on how you use it, I mean, you've had a lot of time to think about this semifinals project coming up. That's going to be critical. It's going to be
Yeah.
absolutely critical. And with that, DSquared, I think we should transition since you do have the access to not only the semifinals project, but also the final project. Just without giving it away, what do you think of these next two challenges?
The next two, I think, are going to be like when we look back at the end of the year, I think these next two are going to be like the really interesting project because just the prompts are really, really good, really thought out and stuff. I think there's a lot that we'll be able to do with them and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, folks, I definitely want you guys to get the Cinderella Mystery Castle projects in.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing a special podcast reviewing both Team Chandler's presentation and also Mad Eating Reef's presentation that he did from the Museum of the Weird. I'm going to be doing that with my good friend Sandy Claus, 9th place finisher in the season. So that should be fun. And then DSquared, let's just go ahead and reveal what the semifinals project is. Do you want to kind of do the honors?
Okay. Space is gonna hate me for this. All right. So the next one is, of course, the infamous Breaking Bad project. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We're doing Breaking Bad, people.
Breaking Bad.
The title of the project is going to be Crystal Blue Creations, after the famous montage in Breaking Bad, Crystal Blue Persuasions. DSquared, this is something that I've been dying to do since season 2 of Breaking Bad. And to give you a bit of a history lesson, season 2 of Breaking Bad, it was not the cultural phenomenon that people know it as now. Season 2 of Breaking Bad, people who did know about the show were basically like, isn't that like the dad from Malcolm in the Middle running around in his underwear? What the hell is that show? It seems weird. That's literally like when I pitched the show, it's like the dad from Malcolm in the Middle is a drug dealer. Obviously, since then, the show has gone on to just absolutely iconic status in the stratosphere of not just TV, but I'd say just pop culture in general. It's heavily, heavily, heavily regarded as one of the all-time great TV shows, right up there with The Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone. Hint, hint, hint.
I'm saying nothing.
No, seriously though, Breaking Bad, it's just a common, like it's almost common fact that it is one of the all-time great TV shows that's ever been produced. Bryan Cranston has come out from being much more than just the dad from Malcolm in the Middle into just a true tour de force method actor in that show. Tons of iconography. DSquared, I think the really interesting root of this project is that Breaking Bad is centered around Albuquerque, New Mexico, but it's a very specific stylized version of Albuquerque, New Mexico through the lens of Vince Gilligan and his directors and writers and everything like that through a very particular lens. So you were essentially designing Albuquerque, New Mexico to go into a Universal Studios park, complete with an e-ticket experience, a C-ticket to round out the attraction roster, a dining experience, and a shop. And I want the whole thing to kind of tie together with the Albuquerque theme, and that's where the research definitely comes into play, because Breaking Bad has a very specific style, but I think it's going to be interesting to see who can replicate that style for a theme park. It's going to be tricky. Yeah. It's definitely going to be tricky. That's why this is the longest project that we've had this season. The project to be due, it's going to be due Monday the 19th. So you guys have almost a week and a half to work on it. It's going to be by far the longest project this season. Can't wait to see what you all do with it. We're going to be having a special guest star join us to judge it, DSquared. Special guest star. This is breaking news. You're the first person to know about this. It's so breaking that even the person that I'm fucking telling you about doesn't even know about it yet because I haven't told him about it. But I'm sure he'll say yes. So I am going to get my co-host for like a bulk majority of my podcast videos, Blue Dragon 5 himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Blue Dragon 5, huge Breaking Bad fan, giant Breaking Bad fan, is going to be with me. I'm going to be handpicking one of the final 4 projects to make it into the final 2, and Blue Dragon 5 himself is going to be handpicking another of the final 4 projects to make it into the final 2. What do you think about that, DSquared?
That's a twist. I didn't have that prepared.
So we're talking about a man who knows almost nothing about Imagineering, but who knows everything about Breaking Bad.
That's the twist.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're going to have a perfect combination of both now, Mike.
Sure. I'm definitely going to be more on the Imagineering side. Dragon is definitely probably going to be more on like the Breaking Bad fanboy side of things. Yeah. That's absolutely the twist. DSquared, I also just want to point out how goddamn serendipitous this Final Four is. It's almost amazing and beautiful and poetic. So we have the 3 killers, the 3 original killers. Carmichael, Mickey Fan, and Man-Eating Wreath has somehow stumbled his way to the end of the game after being sent to the museum twice in a row. And then DSquared, we have you, who everyone just thought was a killer, and you were pretty much like the 4th killer the whole time. So really, in a murder mystery season, the killers absolutely 100% won.
Yeah.
Just bar none. And I think that's like, look, I'm not a big fan of the Space and Figment situation, but I don't want to harp on that too much. If anything, I honestly kind of think that Figment should have been eliminated. I understand having her as a threat. I almost kind of think you should have waited until this project to do it if you were going to do it. I don't want to harp on that too much, though. It's all part of the strategy. It's all part of
I'll say
how the game naturally played out.
I'll say this about that. That I know I was in the conversations where that was planned out with more different people.
Sure.
That was lined up perfectly. If we had waited another round, we might not have been able to do it, depending on how things went.
Fair enough.
I'll say that. That's all. Because,
like I said, I don't like. I honestly feel kind of bad about putting my hand in the cookie jar the first time. So I'm really not here to condemn anyone's actions.
Yeah.
I think the Final 4 all got to the Final 4 based on some level of strategy, besides maybe Man-Eating Wreath. Man-Eating Wreath, I love you. I love you to death. You've had some good contributions this project. I think you kind of got lucky to make the Final 4, and I think he'll be the first one to admit it. But having said that, I think Garrett is absolutely a fantastic solo player, so I wouldn't count him out when it comes to the Final 4. He could sneak in there. But all right, DSquared, it's been a great season. This is the first time we've actually talked to you this podcast. I should have had you on more often during the season.
Yeah, I was busy a little bit over the summer and stuff.
It also would have been kind of complicated with the killer twist actually in play to talk to you about it, because most people assumed you were the killer and you knew you weren't. So.
You mean like when me and you were doing the Soul Imagineer podcast and we were together the whole time and we were trying to give like an objective view on the game?
Exactly. Oh, God.
That should have been thought out better.
All right, folks. So I think in the grand scheme of Season 13, Season 13 to me, in spite of kind of like the bitter taste that it might leave in some people's mouths with Space and Figment getting eliminated back-to-back, and those two obviously being the big power players of the season, honestly, with this narrative of all 3 of the killers making it to the end, along with DSquared, who's like the one that everyone thought was the killer, I think it's beautiful. I think it's poetic, and I honestly think it kind of erases any negative feelings I was having about the Figment situation, to tell you the truth. With Figment, she was easily throughout the season, Joker and I's like hands-on, like she's going to win the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys sense that as well. Like Joker and I kind of like, we just saw her win coming from a mile away. So to tell you the truth, as bitter as it was to see her go, and especially to see her kind of like trapped in the situation she was in, and knowing she was trapped in, that was honestly the difficult part of the whole thing, was the inevitability of it.
Yeah.
But having said that, DSquared, just, my God, as a host, this is beautiful. This is like, I couldn't have asked for something better narratively.
Yeah.
All right, man. Any final thoughts heading into the Final Four?
This is going to be really interesting and very scary.
Yep.
I really want to make it to the finals because I know what the next project is after that, and I am prepared for that one.
But you're not prepared for Breaking Bad.
I've done a little research. I'm not. I
Okay.
don't really have Hulu or anything, so I can't be streaming entire seasons. But I've done research on the plot and stuff.
Podlocker, Vidbull, Daily Motion.
Oh, yeah. Oh God.
That's not just for you. That's for anyone.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Well, thank you all for joining us. I hope there's no like genuinely harsh feelings regarding the twist. Like I said, Michael and Mickey Fan came up with the whole idea to kind of forge me swapping the killers out. I absolutely did not confirm that that was the case in any way, shape, or form. I never brought it up in the podcast. I never brought it up on the main boards. I was hoping that people would connect the dots, that I didn't confirm those things, but they didn't, and which resulted in the killers kind of like having a big grasp of control over the game. So I don't know, DSquared. I think it's going to be really interesting to go back and look at this season as a whole with the killer twist in play. I actually have kind of like a goal in mind to kind of recap the season in a very elaborate way that I'm going to announce at the end. I actually kind of want to go back and kind of like take a look back at every individual project through the lens of the killers. Yeah. So we'll see more about that. Like I said, it's something that's in the works that I'll announce more of as we get closer to the finale. But DSquared, thank you for coming on. And one last time, DSquared, are you a killer? God damn it. Are you?
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe I'm still a killer and I have infinite kills. Maybe that's the twist.
All right.
Maybe I've already won.
You never know, folks. You just never know. All right. See you later, everyone.